So what other discoveries, what other things followed? I know we could go on and on and on.
Yeah. There were actually three things that really bothered me. I went to a church historian, and I also went to an institute director about three things. One was the changes in the Book of Mormon, the doctrinal changes that I just mentioned. The other one was the different accounts of the first vision. And then the third one, and it was a biggie, was the Book of Abraham.
Can you explain a little bit about the Book of Abraham?
I can
what it is?
quickly.
Yes.
Just that Joseph Smith was, the church was, bought these papyri back in 1835 or so from a Michael Chandler, I think his name was, and he, in his records, Joseph said, well, I was in the process of translating the Book of Abraham today, and I was in the, and eventually I finished the Book of Abraham, and so eventually it became part of the Pearl of Great Price, and we have it still today as the Book of Abraham. Well, the papyri that he bought was eventually ended up with Emma, which everyone believed went into the Chicago Museum, which was eventually burned in 1871, and so everyone assumed that these papyri were lost. Well, they turned up in the Museum of Art in New York in 1966, 1967, and now we have them. The church has them in their archives, I guess, now, and assumed at that point that this was going to prove beyond a doubt that Joseph Smith was a translator and a prophet of God. Turns out that the Book of Abraham, the papyri, have nothing to do with Abraham. They're just
funerary
text. Funeral
yes.
text, yeah.
And that's been validated, I think, by many places.
Well, even in the church, I mean, everyone acknowledges that it's that it doesn't say exactly what it, and there's some disagreement about. I mean, there's some church explanation for what this really means and what it doesn't mean.
Is.
Yeah, but the big thing is are the facsimiles, not necessarily the texts themselves, because you could argue that maybe we don't have all the texts, and I don't know why it would be a funeral text in one place and then this little portion over here that we don't have would talk about Abraham, who it's not about Abraham at all. But we have the facsimiles, and Joseph Smith made an English and grammar listing of what these things meant.
And we've got a picture of that in there.
Yeah, and we have the
Mormon.
facsimiles that tell it, where Joseph says that who this is and what this is and now Egyptologists, now we can read those, or Egyptologists can, and they confirm that these have nothing to do with what Joseph Smith said they did.